The Space Between Breaths and Survival, short story by JameliaAlicia. The girl learned early that fear could have a shape. Its form will grow if not defeated. For her, it was narrow and low-ceilinged. It hummed softly and pressed in from all sides. Lifts, changing rooms, locked toilets, each one tightened around her chest like a second ribcage. Scary and deadly if not caught in the bud. Claustrophobia, they called it, as if giving it a name made it smaller. It didn't. As a child, she avoided what she could. As a teenager, she endured, because that's what fighters do. And as an adult, she was expected to be brave, the quiet, efficient kind of brave that shows up on time and signs consent forms without trembling, because fear was not meant to be hidden in the dark. Fear was meant to be seen in places where people was present. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. MRI scan confirmed. She read it twice, then once more, as if repetition might turn the words into something else. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and patience. When the technician explained the machine, a tight tunnel, loud noises, 40 minutes, her throat closed before the machine ever could. She lay down anyway. The table slid her forward, inch by inch. The ceiling dropped close enough that she could feel it without touching it. Her hands curled into fists, her breath fractured, too fast, too shallow. "You're not trapped," she told herself. Her body disagreed and conditioned into freeness. Then she remembered what she'd practiced for moments like this. Not escape, but return. She closed her eyes. She pictured her father first, his steady presence in doorways, how he always made space for her to pass through before him. "After you," he'd say, as if the world would wait. Then her mother, the way she held her as a child during thunderstorms, arms firm and warm, creating a safety that felt larger than the room they were in. She imagined sitting between them on the sofa, knees tucked up, their shoulders on either side of hers. She remembered the rhythm of their breathing, slow and certain. She matched it. The machine began to roar. The tunnel did not widen, but something inside her did. Each minute passed like a small victory. Her fear didn't disappear, it softened, loosened its grip. She stayed, she breathed. She reminded herself that adulthood wasn't the absence of fear, but the decision not to run from it. She decided in her life to not run from it. She realized that fear was dominant in her life, and in order to improve, she became a phoenix of her claustrophobia. A fire has burnt, and she knew what fire it was. It was the fire in her telling her to endure and keep going, because no one could not tell her unless she saw it herself to change. When the table finally slid her back into open air, tears slipped down her temples, not from panic, but relief of the pain she faced in the machine. "You did really well," the technician said. She smiled, surprised to find it was true. Later, walking out into the wide, ordinary world, she understood something new. Fear doesn't shrink because we conquer it, it shrinks because we grow. And this time, she had. In the weeks after the scan, the girl noticed a strange after-effect. The world felt slightly larger, and everything was bigger to grasp. Not dramatically, streets were still crowded, trains still cramped, but her reactions had shifted. When a lift door closed too quickly, she didn't panic immediately. When a crowded cafe pressed noise and bodies too close, she stayed long enough to finish her tea. These were not triumphs anyone applauded, but they mattered to her. Quiet proof that fear could be negotiated with, not just obeyed by simple human laws. She began to realize that claustrophobia had never been only about space. It was about control, about the terror of being unable to leave when her body demanded escape. The scan had forced her to sit with that truth, to feel trapped and still choose to remain. One evening, she found herself sorting through old boxes in her childhood home. In one, she discovered a drawing she'd made years ago, a small stick figure standing inside a square, surrounded by thick black lines. In the corner, written in uneven handwriting, were the words, "I can't breathe." She held the paper for a long time. That girl had survived without language for her fear, without tools to fight it, and now here she was, older, still afraid, but no longer powerless. She folded the drawing carefully and placed it back in the box, not as something to forget, but something to honor. A month later, a new challenge arrived. A job opportunity, one she wanted, required frequent travel. Trains, planes, hotel rooms with windows that didn't open. The old fear stirred, quick and sharp, reminding her of all the reasons to say no. She almost did, but then she remembered the tunnel, the noise, the way she had carried her parents with her, not physically, but internally. She realized she didn't need the exact same comfort every time. She could create new anchors. On her first train journey for work, she chose a seat by the aisle. She placed her feet firmly on the floor and imagined roots growing beneath them, grounding her. She counted stops instead of seconds. When panic whispered, "You're stuck," she answered, "I am safe, and this will pass." And it did. Her words had power, and she done a good job at it. Adulthood, she learned, wasn't a single moment of bravery. It was repetition, choosing to stay again and again, choosing growth over avoidance, choosing to believe that fear could ride beside her without driving. She still didn't love small spaces, she doubts she ever would, but now when walls pressed in, she knew something essential. There was space inside her, enough to breathe. That was a gift itself that no one could give her.